He sold his only 2 motorcycles, just to make her dream come true. But when she finally made it abroad, she forgot the man who built her life. 10 years later, a prophet revealed the shocking truth. Your real husband is not in America, he's in Nigeria. My people, this is a story that will touch your soul, a story of love, betrayal, and destiny. There was once a man who served the government faithfully for many years. He was not a rich man, but he lived a humble and honest life as a civil servant. In 2 months, he was supposed to clock 60, the age of retirement, when he would finally begin to receive his pension salary. But fate had other plans. A slight illness struck him suddenly, and before his family could fully understand what was happening, he was gone. Because he died before clocking 60, his pension benefits were never released. His wife and children were left with nothing. He left behind 3 children, 2 boys and 1 girl. The 2 sons, still young but desperate to survive, traveled far away in search of greener pastures. The last born, a teenage girl, stayed at home with her mother. Her mother was the only one struggling to provide for her education. They lived in poverty, but the woman was determined that her daughter would be educated no matter what it cost her. Every morning, the woman would sit in front of their small house, selling oranges. And every afternoon, the young girl would take a tray of oranges on her head, walking from street to street, hoping to make enough sales to support her mother and pay her school fees. One day, while hawking oranges around a busy garage filled with motorcycles and passengers, the girl met a young man about 25 years old. He was a motorcycle rider, quiet and respectful. He bought some oranges from her and told her to come the next day to collect her payment because he didn't have small change at that moment. She agreed and left. The next day, she returned, and the young man paid her. That simple exchange became the beginning of something unexpected. Day after day, whenever she passed the garage, he would buy oranges from her. He noticed her humble character, her politeness, and her sense of responsibility. Soon, he started to look forward to her visits. One day, the man asked her if she had a boyfriend. She said no, she wasn't interested in any relationship because she wanted to focus on her education. He respected her decision, but he also made a promise. He told her that he truly liked her, and that there would never be any intimacy between them until she completed her secondary school. He wanted to help her achieve her dreams. The girl, though young, saw sincerity in his words. And from that day, a pure friendship began built on trust, kindness, and hope. The young man was hardworking. He contributed his daily income to a thrift collector, saving up to buy another motorcycle. When he finally received his contribution, he bought a second bike and gave it out to another rider who paid him back quickly. After the purchase, he was left with 40,000 naira. At the same time, the girl's school fees were due. She told him her mother was struggling to raise the money. Without hesitation, he gave her the entire 40,000 naira. He said, "Use what you need for school, and keep the rest for anything you may need later." That evening, when the girl returned home, her mother was shocked to see such a large amount of money. She asked where it came from, even questioning if her daughter had stolen it. The girl, afraid and confused, explained that someone gave it to her, someone who wanted to help her go to school. The mother, still unsure, asked to meet the person in question. The girl agreed. The next day, the young man came to their house with his motorcycle. He greeted the woman respectfully and introduced himself. He told her how much he cared for her daughter, how he had supported her education, and how he planned to continue helping until she finished secondary school. He explained that there had been no form of intimacy between them, just love, understanding, and support. The woman, touched by his humility and sincerity, accepted him like a son. From that day, the young man became part of their little family. He paid the girl's school fees, bought her books, and often picked her up from school after closing hours. He became her daily motivation, the silent strength behind her education. Time passed. The girl completed her secondary school education successfully. The young man was proud of how far she had come, and proud that his sacrifices were not in vain. That night, after her graduation, their relationship changed. They became intimate for the first time. Later that evening, the young man asked her what she wanted to do next, whether she wanted to learn a trade or continue her education. She said she wanted to further her studies and go to the university. He smiled and agreed to help her once again. He sold one of his motorcycles to raise money for her jam form and other expenses. When the results came out, she passed excellently and gained admission into the university. The young man was overjoyed. He took her to school himself on his motorcycle. Before leaving, he kissed her softly and told her, "Don't forget the love I have for you." She smiled and waved goodbye as he rode off, not knowing that her next decisions would change both their lives forever. She had just entered a new world, one filled with temptations, new faces, and new dreams. But she had also left behind a man who sacrificed everything for her future. And as her journey continued, destiny was silently watching. What happens next will test the meaning of love, loyalty, and faith. She met a young man around her age, educated, confident, and charming. He treated her like an equal, something she had never experienced before. Gradually, she began to distance herself from the man who had sacrificed everything for her. The educated boy made her believe she deserved more, a better life, a smarter partner, someone who could speak English fluently and fit into her new world. And so, she fell for him. One evening, while talking with her new lover, she revealed everything about the first man, how he had sponsored her education, and how he was only a commercial rider. The boy laughed softly and said, "You can't marry that kind of man. You're just keeping him around until you finish school." And sadly, that's exactly what she decided to do. Time passed, and she went home for her holiday. Her mother, still grateful for all the man had done, reminded her not to forget him. She nodded and smiled, but her heart was no longer with him. When it was time to return to school, the man came to pick her up with his motorcycle, just as he always did. On their way, they stopped at the school gate and saw a crowd gathered. A visa lottery event was taking place on campus. The man, curious, asked what was going on. She explained, and he immediately encouraged her to give it a try. He even paid for her tickets with his own money. A few weeks later, she received a message that would change everything. She had won the visa lottery. She had been selected to travel abroad. The man was overjoyed. He couldn't believe it. He thanked God for blessing the girl's life and began to plan how to support her journey. But he didn't know she had other plans. At school, she told her new boyfriend about the visa win. He was excited, but then she said something that shocked him. She said, "I can only take one person with me, and I want that person to be you." He asked, "But what about the man who sponsored you?" She smiled coldly and said, "He will still help me. He loves me too much to say no." She called the man that night, pretending to be emotional. She told him about the travel opportunity and how she needed money for processing. The man didn't even hesitate. He looked around at the only things he had left: his 2 motorcycles. They were his source of daily income, his survival. But he didn't think twice. He sold them both. Every single thing he had worked for, he sold for her dream. He handed her all the money, smiling, and said, "Use this to prepare yourself. When you get there, don't forget me." She hugged him, thanked him, and promised to buy him a car when she returns. He believed her. The day of her departure finally came. He rode with her to the airport, excited but emotional. He wanted to wait until the plane took off, but she told him not to. She said it was late, that he should go home and rest. She didn't want him to see the other man, her new lover, who was also at the airport, secretly waiting for her. He obeyed and left. That night, she boarded the plane with the new man, leaving behind the one who had given her everything. Weeks turned into months. The man tried calling her, but she stopped answering his calls. Her mother tried reaching her too, but there was no response. Still, the man refused to give up hope. He visited her mother often, asking if there was any news. He believed with all his heart that one day she would return. 10 years later, the girl was now a woman, living in a foreign country with the man she had chosen. They were married and living comfortably. But there was one problem: they had no child. They tried everything. Hospital after hospital, test after test. The doctors said they were both perfectly fine. No sickness. No reason for infertility. But still, no child. Then one day, they heard that a powerful prophet from Nigeria had come to their city. Desperate for answers, they went to see him. When it was their turn, the prophet looked at the woman silently for a few seconds. Then he asked, "Where is your husband?" She smiled and said, "This is my husband, sir. He's sitting beside me." The prophet shook his head slowly. He said, "No, your real husband is not here. He is far away in another country. The one who built your destiny, the one you made a covenant with, you abandoned him." The woman's heart began to race. The prophet continued, "Until you find that man and make peace with him, you will never have a child in your life." The room went silent. Tears filled her eyes. The weight of her past came crashing down. The man beside her stared in confusion, realizing he had been living a lie. The girl who once dreamed of success had everything she wanted except peace. And the man she left behind still waited, still believed, still loved. If you were that man, what would you do? Thank you for watching this story to the end. What would you do if you were in his place? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, subscribe to our channel Storytime with Sky, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next powerful story.